Well, hello again folks. Thanks for tuning in to another video, and I hope yous are all still fit and well out there. This was filmed earlier in the year, where I am up and out early trying to set up the little pop-up hide that I use. But if you can hear the magpies and jackdaws in the background, it's not earlier enough because the birds are up before me, unfortunately. The farmer contacted me the night before and asked me if I could come down and thin the hooded crows out a bit, as he was about to put his lambs out on the ground. And hooded crows have a bad reputation. If they find a sickly lamb or even a full grown ewe lying down, stuck on its back and can't defend itself, they will peck its eyes out. They'll go for the tongue, the anus and even the elder, whatever soft parts they can get to. And I have seen the evidence myself. With the hide built, it's time to set the bait and the decoy out. Now, I usually set things out at 80-90 yards. There's no point going mad and setting stuff out 150 to 200 yards away. I'm here to kill the birds, not give them a sporting chance. This is vermin control, not target practice. But I have a dead rabbit with me, which I strewn out with the guts hanging out of it to make it look as if it's been killed that night by a fox or something and then left lying. And I also have a dead hooded crow with me, which I set up in a little wire cradle I've made from a coat hanger so it stands on its own 2 feet as a decoy. Yeah, it might be spring, but it's still chilly. The rifle I have with me this morning is my CZ 527 Varmint chambered in 17 Hornet. The scope is a Meopta 4-16 by 44 tactical, which I've mounted a Tacticam to with their FTS unit to film through the scope. The suppressor up front is a Wildcat Panther in 17 caliber, and I'm using home loaded 20 grain Vmax bullets. It takes a wee while, but a hooded crow finally takes an interest in the setup. But unfortunately, instead of landing on the ground, it lands on a fence post away to my right hand side. It's still within range, but I just don't want to shoot in that direction. There's also another 1 or 2 birds sitting in the distance on the usual ivy covered tree. The birds are obviously interested. They know the setup's there, but they just won't land. They're very cautious this morning. Now, I originally put it down to the fact that I was pretty late setting up this morning and it was fully light, and the birds probably saw me. Plus, they probably can see my footprints through the dewy grass. It's pretty frustrating, but all I can do is sit tight and be patient and see what happens. Thankfully, after a bit of a wait, one finally lands. But for some reason, I took a full notion that if I let it alone, the sight of it may give the other birds confidence that the area is safe. Only for me to realise once it had flew off, I just gave up my first opportunity and called myself all the stupid names of the day. Thankfully though, after even more waiting, another bird finally landed, and I wasn't about to waste this opportunity. got it, just before it was about to fly off. I think the sound of that buzzard in the background was making it nervous. Might also be another reason why they're not landing this morning. Yep, there it is. And it's decided to claim the hooded crow for itself. But I don't want it to pick up any lead fragments, so I decided to leave the hide and move it on. And while I was out there, I decided to set the hooded crow that I'd shot up as a decoy. And that's when I realised I'd left the bag I brought the bait in down there. Possibly another reason why the birds didn't want to land. After a bit more patience and that buzzard leaving the area, a couple more hooded crows landed. That's two. But I know there's plenty more in the area. So when things quieten down a bit, I walk down and set that bird up as a decoy as well. After a while, a third bird dropped in, really quietly. It can surprise you sometimes how quiet they can come in. Some birds have to make a big song and dance about it. Others, they just seem to appear from nowhere. Again, I set that bird up as a decoy, as the birds seem to be decoying better that way. You'd think seeing me dandering about the field would put them off, but they seem to be put off even more so by the sight of a dead bird lying, especially if they've been shot at before. You can see here, now I've got a few birds set up as decoys, the other birds seem to come in and land with much more confidence. Yep, I'm doing the same thing again. So long as I can't see or hear any other birds in the distance, I'll leave the hide and set the bird I've just shot up as a decoy. Hey, if it's working for me, stick at it. Oh, we've got a distant onlooker. And, before long, another bird silently drops in the wind. Thankfully, at this sort of distance, the little 17 Hornet isn't bothered by it. Time for a quick reload. Another crow drops in silently, almost right beside the previous one I shot. I might have pulled a little high with that one, as it's doing quite a bit of flapping, but it seems to be down now. Pretty quickly after that one, another one dropped down, right in among the decoys. It always surprises me how many white feathers you can get out of a grey and black bird. Yep. Guess who's back? Though I'm not sure if it's the same buzzard, as it seems to be a bit darker in colour. At this point I noticed that the previous bird I'd shot was back up on his feet again. So I decided it'd be best putting a second shot in it instead of chasing it about the field.
Still sitting.
Yep, even though I just blatted that crow about 10 yards away from it, it wasn't disturbed. It was having its free meal. But at this point I decided it's probably best to leave the hide and push it on. Though I think it might have been eating the rabbit and not one of the crows.
Well, I did not think I would have, what was it, 7 hooded crows by the end of this morning. I got up at 4:30 this morning to get out here, and the crows were already up and about the place. I was still half light at that stage, so they more than likely saw me set up. So I'm very surprised I actually got as many birds as what I have. Farmer texted me the night before, said could I come down and shoot a few, and thankfully I managed to do that. Same setup as usual, dead rabbit, which is a wee bit manky because I've used it quite a few times. And what one is it? It's another hooded crow set up as a decoy on a little wire cradle that I make out of a coat hanger. And as I shot the birds, I set them up as decoys. The first one I actually let go, thinking that seeing it hop about the field unharmed would give the rest of them a wee bit of confidence, but now I realise that was a stupid idea. I gave up my first opportunity. I could well have had an 8th one. It landed down the field there and then up on top of the fence post to my right, but I didn't want to shoot that direction and it didn't come back again. So 7 it is. It's 1 o'clock now. I'm hungry. I'd like to go home and get something to eat, and I've this all to tidy up and a hiding all to pack away. So that'll do me for this morning. 17 Hornet for the win, even though I think that one there I had to shoot twice. The 17 Hornet doesn't usually take prisoners, but it definitely finished the job with the second shot. And I can't believe it didn't scare the buzzard off with the sound of the shot. It just shows how thick they are. Anyway, cheerio bye folks. Well folks, I hope you enjoyed that. That was a real wet, mucky field, so it was. And the wind was starting to pick up that badly. I thought it was going to blow the hide and me and all away at one point. But we got her done. And I have another video similar to this, similar results in a different area. But I've that to edit yet. But until then, take care folks and look after yourselves, hey.